shutting him down. And the big difference between Giants and Misfits was that Jisoo was always being able to deal with him. So now coming into this series, I want to see how much better Giants have adapted in being able to manage Kikis up in the top lane and to make sure that Flaxish can get through the laning phase.
Of course, have to see what the focus will be, because for now, top lane only suffering one ban, the flex pick of that Camille. Mid lane, kind of seeing standard bans come out here. Syndra, a power pick in the previous series. Knight never gets a chance to play that Talon since his time in the LCS. And Graves, similarly powerful pick. Rengar taken off the table. A lot of jungle focus. An interesting first pick coming in here for Clyde. Zyra locked in right off the bat.
Wow, fascinating. Now, Clyde, during the playoffs, has actually played a fair amount of Zyra. It does give you a lot of lane strengths, but it's actually giving Giants now a bit of freedom to lock in their jungler, because Memento, he has played a lot of Lee Sin in the past. He has had a fair amount of success with it yesterday as well. So I feel like that they could look to early rotate that, and then you also could just get yourself an early Nautilus, something that's safe, and something that we saw that was great for Misfits yesterday was the flexibility. You can send it down, give it to Hustlin, or maybe you can send it up top lane for Flaxish, depending on the matchup.
And this is very different too, because Shen is up and available.
That's very true.
And that's a champion that we've seen very frequently banned the last couple of days. Will they go for Nautilus, kind of that safer pick, or Shen putting a little bit more faith maybe in their bottom lane with the top laner like Shen? The Giants really taking their time here on this first rotation. In the end, it will be the Ashe priority coming in for Hikyu.
All right. A little bit surprising. Yesterday, we saw a lot of value for the Varus for Hikyu. Instead, they want that initiation tool. One thing that Quickshot and I talked a lot about was the fact that Hikyu, you always had to flash ulti on that Varus, and when you're playing the Ashe, it's a little bit easier to land those engagements. So at least Giants have a means in order to force these fights. Now, if you're Fnatic, you could look to lock in your bottom lane right now. Rylez has been playing a lot of Ezreal in the recent weeks, and then we see the mid lane priority going towards Niski already.
Interesting. Knight immediate counter pick here, opts for the Corki. A lot of potential damage on that pick as it moves later in the game, but you know, suffered a lot of nerfs. Part of the reason we saw it drop out. But mid lane locked in, 80 carry locked in. The difference between these first areas for pick ban is, of course, support versus jungle. Vedius, we're going into pick phase 2. Mid lane's already locked in. Is it just all about the top lane now?
Ooh, I feel like that Giants, not only have they expected the LeBlanc pick to come out from Niski, but you rightly say, top lane is going to be now a big priority for them. They've actually decided to take away the Shen on this rotation, which means that I feel like that they're looking towards getting themselves an early Nautilus, and then you can flex it between both support and top, depending on what Kikis goes for.
Fnatic Academy, though, they're not a fan of that Nautilus pick. They say no. They take it away. So the top lane pool is very quickly shrinking.
Gragas is now becoming a very valuable top laner. He's typically very safe into a lot of things, but if Giants early rotate the Gragas, then you're asking Fnatic Academy to go for the Fizz. So I wonder whether or not Giants look to ban it away.
Okay, so top lane pool very rapidly shrinking, continuing to be the focus. We've got things like Renekton still up and available. Rumble, interestingly enough, has not been a priority for either side yet. And despite the difference in first rotations or first pick set, no one's worried about the jungle. No one's worried about the support pool. They say, take what you want. We just want to get a good top lane matchup. Although, as I say it, it is the Malzahar that will be banned away from hustling.
Now, I wonder if Giants go for a Rumble pick here, and then Fnatic Academy actually answer with the Mundo. They could look to actually just pick themselves up as fairly safe support, which make more sense because you already know what the opponent's bottom lane is, and this will more likely guarantee the pick for Giants. I feel like Fnatic Academy, right now, they're inclined to either go towards Gragas is the safest blind pick available to them. Will do absolutely fine into a Rumble matchup. And we even saw Kikis bring it out the other day. So Fnatic Academy, they've drafted themselves a good pick comp, good scaling, but it's all about that mid-game power for the side of Fnatic.
Yeah, Rek'Sai as well. A lot of CC, a lot of ways to start a fight. And with a Zyra, a LeBlanc, and an Ezreal, you do have a decent amount of damage to back it up. Plus, as you said, I like this on Kikis. Yeah, sometimes he wants to play the carries, but I also like him on some of these playmaking champions like the Gragas when he gets out of that lane, when he gets those barrels coming out. But it does leave that Rumble up and available for Flaxish, and that is a potentially powerful pick, although I feel like Flaxish, you know, last time we saw this really wasn't a positive factor for Giants.
Well, he did bring it out in their series versus Origin, where he had reasonably good success. It was a champion that he seemed fairly comfortable on. The big question is, How will he be able to make it work in this composition? Because there is no tank for Giants. Typically, these styles of compositions are very difficult to play and rely very heavily on a successful laning phase. Now, bear in mind, during the early game, Flaxish will be pushing in top lane. You're going to have a lot of farm in mid and in bot. And I feel like that for Giants, they want a slow early game. They want to take their time. They want to be patient and wait for their champions to hit these 2 item spikes, maybe even 3. Whereas Fnatic, they're looking for this early violence. They want to try and get this snowball going as quickly as possible, and Niski could very well be the man to do that.
Have to see what the LeBlanc can do this time around. It's not LeBlanc versus Katarina. Knight staying away from those champions. Picking up the Corki, that is the Knight special. See the coaches now shaking hands, and you have to wonder who's going to walk away with the win in our first game. Well, if you want to get involved, viewers at home, at LOL Esports is the Twitter handle. Twitter, of course, is the place. Should have started with that one. Hashtag FNA win for Fnatic Academy. Hashtag GIA win for the Giants. Let us know what you think. Yesterday was a very Fnatic favored day. You were wrong. It was Misfits.
It was also a very OG favored day, and they too were wrong.
Maybe today people will be more accurate, but for now, take one final look at the compositions as they've unfolded. Mid lane, of course, a huge factor, the LeBlanc. The Corki on the opposite side for Knight. Both teams ready to leave the base. Both teams ready to go. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, game 1. Moving forward, Giants on the red side, Fnatic Academy on the blue. And Vedius, you said Fnatic, hey, they want to get some leads in this early game, but I feel like it might be a similar story here for Giants. They've got Corki, a pick that can potentially snowball if he gets a lead there. You got Lee Sin, great at setting people up, but at the end of the day, if we make it past the early game and everything's even, who really comes out on top here?
Ooh, I would give the slight edge to Giants, largely because if they can get through the laning phase, they actually have a lot of options because they can set up a 1-3-1, sending off Knight to a side lane. Could be difficult up against the LeBlanc, but I'm just thinking that when you have 2 AD carries, your ability to siege, your poke with this composition as well, and just the ability to scale into the late game is just so strong. However, given that LeBlanc is an assassin, her job is to kill champions like Corki, like Ashe. If they're able to get this early advantage, that's where you can really see the discrepancies between the 2 compositions.
Well, you see Giants right now starting very defensively. Fnatic Academy grouping up. They're roaming. They're looking for potentially some early plays here. But Kikis getting spotted out will let Giants know that something's up. They're not going to know how much of their jungle is warded. We'll offer a little bit of vision here, potentially mitigate any early game impact. But Vedius, I feel like talking about poke, all these things are good. Yes, they have those great options, but you talked about it. This comp without a tank is just so difficult to play, and you got to wonder, with essentially two tanks on the opposite side, can Giants be the team to execute cleanly here?
Well, it will be hard, but it very much stems around the early laning phase, right? Because they won't be able to utilize this full damage composition unless this Rumble can have a reasonable time during the early game. If he falls behind the Gragas, then the tank value is just so much more useful in these fights compared to, say, the Rumble ultimate. If it doesn't do any damage, then what's the point of having the Rumble up there? So early ganks are amazing is what we're very heavily tracking, where he looks to try and exert some kind of pressure. Right now, he has decided to clear the bottom half of his map, going on from Raptors into red towards his Wolves. And I expect him to be edging towards the top half of the map, trying to get some vision along the river, pick himself up the Scuttle Crab, and start threatening Flaxish, saying, hey, look, I know it's a Rumble, you're going to naturally push. Let's see if we can try and get an advantage around that part.
Yeah, but we may just see a 2v2 on the top side, because Memento is moving in as well. Early vision going to get dropped down. Memento there to back him up. Scuttle Crab, Amazing's focus. Does manage to get it, but Memento and Flax just a little bit on the hunt there. We'll spot out the Rek'Sai. We'll have knowledge of his pathing. And now it looks like the invade. Go for that blue buff. Kikis. Kind of playing with fire there. Has to be careful. Sonic Wave does miss, though. And it looks like they're going to be able to walk it out. Amazing gets the knock up onto Memento, though. They're going to have to be careful. Pulling backwards. Maybe looking for a little bit more. Flash away, Memento. Does make it to safety, but now Flax just is the one who has to turn tail and run. Waiting on those cooldowns. Looks like it will be safe in the end, but that's a flash burn for Giants. Traded back for 2 on the side of Fnatic.
Good response there from Memento, realizing that the flash was about to come out from Kikis. He wanted to get away from that situation as quickly as possible. Also worth praising Knight for force pushing that LeBlanc into mid lane. He couldn't look to try and get a teleport up to the top half of the map. He also couldn't look to try and make a rotation, turning that into a 3 versus 2. And in the end, only Summoner Spells were burned. Neither team really going to lose out on too much, but it will give windows of opportunity for a team like Giants to try and move back to the top side of the map and see if they can punish the Flashless Gragas.
An option, potentially an opportunity, but it's one the Giants have to play proactively to punish. We haven't always seen Memento be the big key factor in the early game, and similarly, maybe hard Fnatic, because their bot lane is getting pushed in very quickly on the bottom side. That Ashe early lane bully power really coming in strides.
Utilizing the great wave clear that you have with the Ashe and the Lulu, and the trading power is very effective as well during the early laning phase. You can see already a big discrepancy in terms of the CS starting to develop, and as long as Giants have this consistent pressure, not only in the top lane, but also in the mid and in the bottom, this is very much what Niski was talking about. What Kozku was talking about up on the analyst desk, where if you have these pushing lanes, you have so much more freedom with your jungler to move into the enemy jungle, look to try and make a play up top side, transition that lead in towards the mid lane, and stop this LeBlanc from being this roaming terror in the early game. And
of course, while Rek'Sai has a decent amount of early power, can clear the jungle quite comfortably, it's not the same as the Lee Sin, right? Like the true early game terror of the jungle right next to Elise, or Graves if you for some reason want to walk face first into a Graves. And right now, Memento is happy to just continue moving in, taking what he can, hoping to get a larger advantage here. But for now, experience remains relatively even. Not a massive difference in gold either.
And thinking back to Fnatic Academy during the regular season, for those that may not have watched very much of them in the past, this was a team that actually went through a lot in terms of roster changes and complications with... originally, they had Broxer as the main jungler. He then left, and Amazing didn't immediately fill that spot up. They then also had Kikis, who was ill for a week, and overall as a team, they've struggled to be able to field a full roster, and that's why during the regular season, they actually really did have a rough time, and expectations weren't that high of the team. But coming into playoffs, they had a lot more experience together. They seem to be much more of a unit, and Amazing's original playstyle of just camp Kikis became more just camp the lanes. He's so lane-focused and trying to get his laners ahead that sometimes it costs him in the farm department.
But of course, farm not everything in the jungle. Have to remember those Raptors make everything a little deceptive, as do the Krugs. But Lee Sin clearly clearing out. Much better back. Does not get the double longsword for the trade power, but will be able to provide a bit more vision. As Amazing is just kind of hiding off to the side, waiting, looking for an opportunity, as you said, to set up that lane for success. And Knight gonna have to be careful here. It's gonna get locked up. Snare goes in. Amazing taking his time. Flash forward, another chain, but no follow-up. Knight just gonna be forced to back here.
So that was Amazing, looking to try and punish Knight as he was constantly pushing up the mid lane. Ooh, that Q just barely missing. Could have actually been very dangerous for Clyde, roaming around the map with zero vision in that half of the jungle, but he felt confident that with Knight going back to base, the risk of a collapse was not that high, and this will give Fnatic Academy now an opportunity to get some control around the bottom half of the map, perhaps alleviate the pressure that both Hikyu and Hustlin have been exerting onto Rana.
Yeah, not quite so comfortable to move into that lane and push anymore. When they know they've lost a bit of that control in the mid lane. Jungler's quickly approaching the level 6 mark. Memento gets his a bit ahead of Amazing. The farm you mentioned earlier, the experience differential, but can he turn it into anything here? Doesn't quite have the same impact as the LeBlanc on the side of Corki when it comes to providing CC in a lane. But now they're just weaving back and forth. Dipping, ducking, trying to dodge out on that Tremor Sense.
It's fighting over vision, what we always want to see. Good knockup.
Moving forward, not quite what he wanted. Memento kicks back Amazing. Knight leaping forward. Exhaust goes down on the Niski. He's just going to pull back. Both teams clearly ready for a fight, but neither one fully committing.
Interesting that Niski even used his flash to try and catch Memento out of position, but remember that Knight, he still had his flash from earlier on, the gank that happened in mid lane. He wasn't too afraid of, and thanks to that exhaust, his jungler was left alive. So a lot more summoner spells continue to be burned. Memento's flash will be returning fairly soon. And his focus right now is just returning to the jungle, playing it safe. But all the while all this is happening, the bottom lane for Giants just continues to push. The chip onto this tower will build up and up. And Fnatic need to find some kind of answer, because right now Niski, he can't roam around the map. Niski, he can't look to have an impact on these side lanes because of how much pressure Knight is applying in this middle lane.
And similarly, in the top lane, we thought Flash just may be a weak point. Because when you go up against Kikis, you have to respect this man. He always looks to carry, but he doesn't have a carry pick this time around. It's the Gragas. Not quite as much damage, not quite as much impact. And while we did see some early jungle attention going up to that top side, it seems like both teams are content to just leave that lane alone. let those two champions just farm it out against each other.
Which is absolutely fine from Giants' perspective, because, hey, if Rumble can get to his, like, 2-item spike, then he's a pretty happy chappy, especially come these mid-game fights, which is what Giants are really waiting for. We talked so much about how Fnatic, with this LeBlanc pick, are very much reliant on trying to get this early lead, because think of how great the poke is with the Corki and the Ashe. Think of how great not only the engage tools they have with the Ashe arrow followed up with the Rumble ultimate, but also the disengage. You see a heavy trade down the bottom lane.
Hustling. Locked down, hit by the ult. That really wasn't a trade. In order for it to be a trade, he has to hit back.
That's
so
true.
We can just call that hustling, getting spanked a little bit in lane. Needs to be safe, but a lot of cooldowns burned in that exchange. Now taking the safe way back as him and EQ continue to pressure. Memento not letting himself be known on the bottom side quite yet, but is moving forward. Clyde, Mr. Rawas, they're not risking anything here. Memento maybe just going to move in for the tower.
The pings did come out from Fnatic Academy. They realized that Niski had gone back to base, Knight pushed in mid, so they read the play and they realized, okay, Giants, they're looking to try and either set up a dive bot or come to get the turret. And by forcing Rilez and Cly away from that tower, I don't even believe they actually based just then. That means that that tower is just going to take a huge amount of chip damage. And Giants, they already read where Amazing is on the map as well. So now the focus is very much around trying to gain control over this dragon. And Giants realize, hey, if the bottom lane hasn't backed yet, this could actually be an opportunity for us to try and force something.
Memento moving forward, randomly stopping in his pathing. I feel like trying to juke out the Tremor Sense from Rek'Sai potentially, or just debating with the team whether or not they can afford to try to push for that Cloud Dragon. For now, the answer is no. Just going to give the blue buff over to Knight, allow him to continue to keep trading with Niski in the mid lane. Had a bit of an experience deficit, but we'll catch up as that wave crashes into tower. And now Niski, this is the first chance he's gotten to roam. Setting his sights on the top side of the map.
He's moving with Amazing as well, and he's found Flaxish.
One chain going to connect. Flaxish is going to get locked up. Do they have the backup CC here? Flaxish needs to get out, but he has silenced himself. Now has to back up. No chance. That's first blood for Fnatic. Action continues on the bot side, but it's not going to matter. Flaxish is the first to fall.
Fnatic finally find the roam that they have so long been looking for. They get that kill down onto Flaxish, and now they should be able to trade this top tower. They're even going to be able to get the first tower blood. This was the answer that they needed to alleviate the pressure down in the bottom lane. They had to make some kind of a play happen. Otherwise, Giants would have had the tempo advantage. They would have been able to get this bottom tower translated into the top, and then suddenly start gaining a very rapid control over the game. So good map movement from Fnatic.
Giants not even going to opt to try to take the Cloud Drake with the member advantage on the bottom side. Don't want to take that risk. Instead, going to back off. And as we watch this one more time, Vedius, is there anything Flaxish can really do here?
He could have potentially thrown the ulti down, maybe onto the minion wave to stop it underneath the tower, but I feel like maybe if he'd thrown it onto Niski, there was the possibility, but I'm pretty sure Niski still had enough of his mobility movements left available that he wouldn't have been in that much danger. Yeah. So Flaxish just said, you know what, I'll hold on to it for now. Maybe we need it in an upcoming fight. I'll just accept the death, and here comes the arrow.
Hit the clone. Okay, all right. I mean, I think he could have just dashed away, but style points for Niski. That was an interesting interaction.
Yep.
If you ever needed a reason to hate LeBlanc more, solo queue friends, there you have it. Blocking skill shots with the ult.
It's super annoying, that ultimate, by the way. Just the fact that it can randomly appear around the map is giant. Knight has that, found Niski.
Oh, not where he wants to be. Already burned a bit of the ult. Niski in trouble, does get taken down. Now Giants in control in the mid lane.
Payback from Giants. They get the return kill down onto Niski. His flash only just coming up now will result in Fnatic Academy losing themselves a top tower, and Giants, they're looking good this game. They had a lot of pressure down in the bottom lane. Rather than rotate up to the top, they actually made that map movement mid, fired the Ashe arrow, and Niski stuck around even knowing that Giants were heading in that direction, and he ends up getting punished for it. So good map movement so far from both teams early on in this game.
Now Fnatic, though, they're setting up for a play of their own. Giants take control back for a brief moment. The hide in the brush strat from Fnatic Academy is coming out. If Giants take the bait, they could be in trouble. Memento, Flaxish playing. Kickus potentially looking for an opportunity to steal here. Will throw it forward. Does move into the Memento. That's a lot of damage, but doesn't have the follow-up. I think just looking to steal the red away. And
if he hadn't gone for the barrel onto the red and he'd actually thrown it to where he would have landed, he may have gotten a kill there, or at the very least a flash.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure Kickus... Oh! Nope. I think he was planning on stealing the red.
I think that was his goal. Yeah, that was definitely his goal. And now Amazing coming in for a flank down block.
Moving back, doesn't have the opportunity to unburrow. TP now coming in from the LeBlanc, no, the Gragas rather. Moving forward, Rumble is here as well. TP for TP, but maybe a little questionable from Flash. Just tower's already going to drop. Does throw down the equalizer to at least clear out the wave, stop any other plays from happening. And they're not actually going to get it. Oh, so low. Fnatic, that's not at all what you needed, but they're continuing to push in. We could just have a bloodbath here. Moving forward, Nisqy taking a lot of poke. Wave all but set to drop. Kikis can't get in for one more auto attack. Clyde wants to take down Knight. Knight is in trouble. Flashes to safety. Now it's Memento looking for a way into the backside, but all 5 members from both squads are here in the bot lane. 1 hit left on that tower.
And this all comes back to Giants not quite making the correct map movement. They kept, remember that they sent their bottom lane up into the mid lane. They wanted to try and make a play down onto Nisqy, and then they sent their bottom lane back to the bottom half of the map. Top lane was already pushed in. Flaxus was effectively freezing that wave, which just opened up Fnatic to send all of their members down to the bottom lane to force that tower. Giants, they needed to be able to make the same play in the top half of the map. They needed to send both Hiku and Hustlin to answer the tower trade rather than just try and keep their tower alive. And while for the time being they have successfully been able to, the damage has largely been done. That tower is still set to fall, but Giants may very well still be able to answer, given that the tower did not drop. Because
there's 4 members going to the top side now. Vedius and Fnatic have to commit at least a few to burn down that tower on the bottom side. No flash from Kikis, no TP either. Does get down the ward. He sees what's coming for him. Won't see it anymore, though. May just think it's Hustlin' Beast, and now it's going to be Kikis, the lone man trying to hold on to this tower. What can he do? Explosive Cast goes in. He gets Polymorph kicked back. Hiku happy to dish out some damage here, and he's going to grab the kill in the end as Giants are the one suddenly ahead in the tempo. Very
surprised that Kikis fell for this play, because this was the exact play that Fnatic just did on the bottom side of the map. They now have 4 members strong. They have a minion wave, and they're looking to continue their push in the top side.
Fnatic desperate to get something in the mid lane, but Rumble moves up. He sees an opportunity to stop a tower from falling. He knows bottom is already dead, and things are looking good for Giants. The wave clears. The rest of Giants are onto the tier 2. This is a huge trade in their favor. Yes, the gold very close, but Giants finally pulling ahead.
Very classic map movement from Giants. That's why it caught me off by surprise that Fnatic Academy just allowed this to happen. I saw Amazing in the top half of the map, thought, hey, maybe he'll ultimate to the tower. Nisqy, I wasn't sure. I think his TP is only just coming off cooldown, so he couldn't make that movement up to the top side either. But Fnatic Academy dropping the ball a little bit, I feel. They will get a Constellation Dragon in return, but Giants, they've now clawed themselves onto the gold lead. Look at this tower differential.
But despite all that, the gold still very close, Vedius, and we take a chance to look at those CS numbers, and things look very good for Raleigh on the bottom side of the map. Just barely ahead in gold, despite all that CS, actually, due to the kill and the assist, but clearly, despite the fumble from Fnatic, he has been the one to pick up a lot of the gold.
Now Fnatic, what are their answers? Remember, they do have the teleport on Nisqy. At this point in the game, they want to start considering moving him off to a side lane. They actually just caught Giants with their pants down a little bit, seeing as they'd already set up vision around the river, and there was no one in position to be able to deal with the wave in the middle lane. So Fnatic, they very quickly answer with a tower of their own, and now that gold advantage literally means nothing for Giants, even after making good macro play up in the top lane. And you can just see from both these teams, not always prepared, not always ready for the next map movement that either team is setting up. And that's why we're just seeing this back and forth, this trade here and there. Always not quite the best or the most rapid of responses from either team, because maybe they're not thinking that many steps ahead. Maybe they're not ready for what either team is planning.
One move that I feel like is in the playbook of Fnatic Academy that we almost never see from other teams is the Rift Herald. I feel like we never see G2 or anybody take a Rift Herald unless they get an objective and there's nothing left to take, but Fnatic Academy always seem to end up with it. Kikis, a man who loves to have this buff, and it makes sense when he's playing a carry top laner, but happy to have it as Gragas too, as Memento looks to go in. Is going to get the red buff in the end. Nice play. Smites it down very low, but still manages to get it.
Uses Amazing to deal extra damage to the red buff, kicking him into his own Brambleback. Kind of feels bad, man, but still, we'll secure it in the end. Now, the game has sort of opened up. There's a lot of free map all across, and this is where wards really start to become important. You can see decent vision from Giants, not only in the top side, but also in the bottom half of Fnatic's map. Whereas Fnatic, they're investing a lot of their vision into the top side. They want to try and steal away this red.
Oh, Memento. No smite to back him up. Kikis is just waiting, looking for an opportunity. It's going to reset for now. I feel like both these teams just want to fight, Vedius. I've never seen this many people contest a red buff in my life. There are so many people around this area. That's fake LeBlanc. Good call, Hustling.
That is indeed. But now, look, Fnatic, they've set up the 1-3-1. This is where Giants need to really get their lane assignments in order. Knight now needs to go and answer the LeBlanc, deal with this pressure. Fortunately for Giants, at this moment in time, there are no objectives for Fnatic to play around. So they've been able to get through this passive early game. This is exactly what they wanted to do. Look across the itemization. A lot of it is starting to be completed, and they're heading towards those 2-item spikes.
Interestingly enough, Niski, we've seen so many Gunblade LeBlancs, the Gunblade, the Lichbane coming out, but today it's the Abyssal Scepter. Has to mitigate some of that damage from Corki, and it feels rough because, well, he's just gotten Abyssal. Corki's got the Hex Drinker. Corki's got the Triforce, and that is an advantage for Knight.
Very surprising, too, given that the AP percentage damage on Knight's ultimate was even reduced. That's one of the big reasons as to why he was moved away from in terms of priority compared to earlier on in the season. But that's very right. Like, he's clearly itemizing in the event that he has to go up against the Rumble off in the side lane, but it really will impact your early damage. I know you and I have had a lot of discussions about the efficiency of rushing the Abyssal Scepter. We don't have time. It's amazing.
Goes in, goes down. Nice coming in from Giants. This is a huge change. Giants, they got spanked by Fnatic last time we saw them. They got absolutely destroyed in the vast majority of the early games, but they are doing very well this time around. Flaxus holding his own. Memento, massive playmaker. I feel like him no longer opting for the Graves has been a huge boon for the side of Giants.
And we heard from Cosq how his answer to the LeBlanc is the Katarina, the outplay. He can match the dueling assassin style of play. But for Knight, he just said, you know what, I'm just going to push. I'm going to wave clear. And now, Giants, they're going for an engage.
Arrow. Not going to land. Knight goes forward. Kickus goes over the wall. Nothing else going to connect, though. Not going to find quite the aggressive opportunity they wanted, although not afraid to throw out that Ash Arrow to look for something. Try to catch somebody napping on the side of Fnatic.
Giants, after getting that pick, they wanted to play around the Baron, say, maybe we're going for this objective a little early, but Fnatic, they had good vision control around it. They're fully aware of what Giants' sneaky plan was. But now that Baron becomes a big point of contention. Giants' team composition is reaching a point where they're ready to try and start these fights. They're ready to really get into the thick of things and start outscaling this Fnatic composition. And Fnatic, they need to start playing the map more. They need to try and split Giants up as much as they can, because in the 1v1, the 2v2s, these small skirmishes, that is where they can use their composition to gain advantages, gain control. And if they get that single pick, they can very swiftly transition that into a very rapid Baron.
Knight trying to steal some cheeky Raptors here, but he will be the one put into the side lane. Doesn't have to go up against LeBlanc quite yet, but will if he wants to push any further out. For now, Fnatic, as you said, playing around the Baron. Another objective is soon to follow, though, and it will be the Mountain Drake. Arguably incredibly important if Baron remains the focus for both sides. But Niski hiding, looking for an opportunity, waiting, hoping to catch somebody out, and they may just be able to catch Knight. Walking into no man's land. Knight trying to run for his life. Tether connects. Flash. Valk to safety. We'll get out, but that's a nice start to a pick from Fnatic.
I like the flash into the Valkyrie from Knight, because he knows that a Valkyrie has the risk of being interrupted, and he knows that with the flash combined, he will be able to get out of the tether range. So he ends up not losing his life, but he will lose a summoner spell. Bear in mind that this will allow Fnatic to have the push priority in mid lane, even though it is Giants that are starting off this Dragon. They're actually just immediately moving towards the Baron.
And Kickus spots out Memento. They know the jungler is nowhere around. Fnatic have been all about these early Baron timings. Trying to get another one here, but this is a huge risk. Flax just has the equalizer. Arrow goes in. Luckily, Fnatic have already stopped. They say it's too risky, and they back off. Thanks for Giants. I mean, it's a back and forth, Vedius. I feel like we're just waiting for an Ash Arrow to connect before one of these fights starts.
We really are. And I also think that Giants, they're a little bit hesitant right now to really force something. Hiku wants to have that Runan's Hurricane completed before he's really in a confident position to force these fights. Ezreal too, not the greatest Baron taker at this point in the game, especially when Niski's off on the zoning duty. And Fnatic, they didn't even have the Gragas there. So I think that the Baron was perhaps a little overzealous. But regardless, we saw a little bit of action. We're seeing a little bit of tension. Both these teams warming up, as it were. You can see that usually in the first game of best of 5, I often find that it's fairly timid, because both these teams, they're feeling each other out. They don't want to make any big tilter moves that could affect you in the whole series. But then as things progress, more confidence starts to build. People feel a little bit more relaxed. They get used to the setup. That's where we're approaching. We're now at the 25-minute mark. The Dragon now being started for Fnatic, and it looks like there is no contention from the side of Giants. They're looking to just get some control around the Baron.
They will get that control, but they'll give up a mountain to do it. Fnatic are all on the bottom side. Giants doing their best now to bait, maybe hoping to force one of the members of Fnatic in. Decent control ward setup. You can see the vision. It is dark in that pit.
It is very dark.
Oh, they're just waiting. Cly places a ward, feels a little bit safer, throws down a plant. Hey, what are they doing? Arrow misses! No, EQ.
Is that a good sidestep from Cly, or is that a bad arrow from EQ? All right, okay, fair enough.
I mean, there's nothing else to call. I can't. You fire it at his only viable retreat path.
That's very true.
And then if he goes the other way, he dies because you're close to him.
That's fair. That's very fair.
But I feel for EQ. You know, he's trying to predict, he's trying to outplay the mind games from Cly, but gotta respect it. Sometimes when they sidestep the arrow, Vedius, they're gonna walk to their death.
Yep. And what that also means for Giants is that Fnatic Academy, they were actually pretty convinced that the Baron was not being started. You could see that Kikis was already pushing in the bottom lane. He shoved the minion wave all the way underneath the tower. Amazing had pushed in the middle lane, so a big minion wave actually ended up dropping to the tower there as well. So Giants, they lost a fair amount of farm and experience trying to force that play, and they ended up getting nothing off the back of it. So it was a bit of a gamble, but at least it was Giants trying to make something happen.
Well, they sacrificed farm, they sacrificed experience, and they sacrificed a Mountain Drake. We have to remember they gave that up too.
Very true.
And we've seen these games go long between these two teams.
Oh, yes.
We've seen them push very far into the game. The Giants have to be careful getting up those objectives. Had they killed Cly, maybe they could have got the Baron. Maybe they could have got the setup, kept baiting Fnatic in and taking control, but small slip-ups, small sidesteps in the case of Cly. For now, however, we look at the goal 25 minutes in, just about dead even, but Giants looking to start a fight. In comes the TP, will be completed by Flaxish. Drakos off to the side. Fnatic Academy slowly but surely just walking up the mid lane. Kikis doing his best with the barrel to deny their path into the mid lane, maybe hoping to get down a little bit of damage here. Giants are zoned off. Fnatic can just continue to throw this out. Knight stepping forward, but they have to be careful. A lot of AoE damage can go in the pit. Rollins does get hit by the arrow tower, all but dead. Equalizer goes down. Amazing kicked out of the Equalizer. Giants, this is communication breakdown, not at all what they wanted.
A lot of engaged tools now gone for Giants. Fnatic, they're on the warpath. They want to try and get the re-engagement off. Bear in mind, they still have a lot of their ultimates available, and here comes Niski.
For the snare, does connect in the end, but just a bit of poke damage. We thought it'd be the Corki, the Ash poking under tower, but it's the Gragas, and it's the distortion forward from Niski that will drop the tier 2 in the end. And now, once again, gold, not a big difference here, but tied up on towers. 2 in the mid lane for Fnatic, 2 on the top side for Giants.
And it was just Fnatic Academy getting the priority on mid. They identified the Giants were stuck in their jungle. They identified that, hey, Giants, we know you're just trying to control the Baron area. We see what you're trying to do. And so we're just going to take advantage of that very swiftly. Moved up mid lane, a single barrel from Kikis, zoning off the entire team of Giants, preventing them and then even forcing them into a choke point where Giants were like, whoa, hey, whoa, okay, we don't want to walk through there because Kikis could barrel one of us. This could be really bad. And so Giants, they got caught out of position once again. I feel like that's a lot of what we see in this game. Both teams just not quite being able to properly respond to the moves that their opponents make.
And while in the early game, I feel like it was Fnatic who were falling behind on the map plays, falling behind on the macro. It feels like Giants are now the ones who don't quite know what to do with themselves now that we've hit this mid-game point. A lot of dancing around, a lot of waiting, while Fnatic are the ones consistently getting objectives.
And it's because Giants want to fight. They realize that their composition is very good at being able to force these engagements and actually team fight at this point in the game, especially with all these items being completed. Whereas Fnatic, they're much more about playing the map. They want to move off to a side lane. They want to go for these skirmishes and take advantage of poor positioning, and they're going to do that right now.
A little bit of damage goes in. Kikis trying to start a fight, but instantly gets polymorphed. He doesn't get a chance to ult, just kick back. In comes the redemption. Will they keep the fight going? Doesn't look like it. Giants don't really have a ton of engage options left. Use the kick for disengage, and now Fnatic just pushing forward. Niski goes over the wall. No chance for follow-up. A lot of back and forth fights so far. Cooldowns burned on both sides. It's the flash heal gone from EQ. Everything else up for the side of Giants, or Kikis rather, giving up that flash. But no lives traded, Vedius. Just summoner spells, just cooldowns.
But priority will be given over to Fnatic. Look at where Kikis is again. He's moved off to the bottom lane. The wave is now going to be pushing top lane, pushing in favor of Fnatic. They've also been able to get the push in mid. And so sure, Fnatic, you don't get any kills, but the map value that you gain is massive because now you can extend your vision so much deeper. Now you can gain control over the Dragon area, which will be spawning in about a minute's time. You gain a lot more control around the Baron area as well. And it's now up to Giants to walk into that darkness. So even though a big fight doesn't net you a win now, later on, it becomes even harder for Giants to be able to get a favorable fight.
But luckily, they have the Ashe. They have the Hawk Shot. It does give them a little bit more vision control, a little bit more safety, a blue trinket in the back pocket of Knight as well. But they have to be careful because in goes Nisqy. Hustling, flashing out, trying to flash to safety. In goes the Root, Hustling all but dead. Will get taken down in the end. Raw is happy to grab that one. Memento leaps to the side, dodges the body slam, has to flash out. Fnatic, they find one, and they may just set their sights on that Baron.
This is the darkness that we were talking about. Fnatic Academy had full control over the top side of that jungle, and as Giants wanted to try and move in and reclaim some of it, that is where Fnatic struck. They found themselves the pick, and now they've got the Baron on their eyes.
Knight poking out a little bit, looking for an opportunity. Arrow connects from EQ. In goes the equalizer.
Ooh.
Rollins is trapped in the pit. That's a long-range arrow. Baron, one more shot might do it. Doesn't need it. Rollins still alive. Flaxus takes him down, looking for a little bit more. Clyde running for his life, but Flaxus, he gets the auto. That's the double. Now they get one back, but Nisqy, a little desperate for a little more action. Amazing with the double kill. It's doubles on both sides. In comes the redemption. Knight, he wants to fight, but he doesn't have the mana to do it. Memento playing footsie with Amazing. No one gonna get it in the end. Vedius, this is such a close game. Neither team seems to be able to get a massive edge over the other side.
But I have to be super critical here of Mr. Rales. Why would you eat that Ashe arrow inside the Baron pit? You literally ate the entire Rumble ultimate. You then shift over the wall into range of Flaxish. And while Flaxish, he did his damn best to be able to at least get something for the side of Giants. You just have to wonder the decision-making. Now here, this is a great pick from Fnatic. They realized, look, we've caught someone off guard, a lot of ultis have been used, Rumble isn't even here. This is good for us. Now we can look towards moving at the Baron, right? So the Baron gets started off. And look at this arrow, right? He sees it coming, he doesn't move out the way. Look at all the damage that Rales ends up taking. He is now completely out of this fight, and he gives Flaxish the opportunity to be able to at least get something back for Giants. Look, you can see that Fnatic, they'd already picked up 2 kills here. They're able to get the kill down onto 3 members of Giants. And it could have been like a 3-0, but instead, just a few small mistakes from Fnatic Academy results in Giants equalizing it out.
Yeah, over the 2 fights, damage dealt by both sides. Ezreal, a huge factor on the side of the Fnatic. Raw is stepping up big to carry, but the equalizer from Flaxus, not something you can just disregard. Almost taking out 2 members. Kikis, aggressive engage forward. Nisqy consistently focused on hustling. To ult himself in the end, and Knight's moving forward, but he's been caught out. Knight's gonna get taken down. Rawlins happy to have that kill, but they're caught in the choke. It's Rawlins who gets ulted again. He starts to burn, but out comes the Strangle Thorns. Flash is still safe. Hustling still safe in the backline. Kikis hoping to find a way in, wants to get the engage going. He gets 2. Now it's the Thorns. It's the follow-up. Flash though, he's backing off, and everything looks A-okay for the side of Giants.
It ends up being a mid laner for AD carry trade. Giants, they're still at the gold deficit, but they are fighting hard. Fnatic Academy, the fact that they always lose this key member is why they're struggling to be able to cleanly win out these fights, but they always seem to be the ones in the better position. They're always the ones always finding the favorable setups. It's simply a matter of execution, and the response from Giants is always what enables them to turn it around.
Now they're hunting for Nisqy. Now Giants are the ones in control of the vision, in control of that Baron pit. Fnatic are gonna have to fight to make their way back in there. They don't have the Ashe. They do have the blue trinkets. They've got a lot of mobility as well. The Tremor Sense from Amazing will make them a lot safer as they approach here, but a team that still has to be careful. And Vedius, this is kind of what we expected from Giants after we heard Memento talk yesterday, but we'll hold that thought as we move forward.
You can see the engagement from Kick is it's very much just to split them up. Giants then get spread apart, and it allows Nisqy to come in from the flank. But really good kick into arrow combo from Memento and Hiku in order to land the arrow onto Rales once again. That's where we saw the equalizer combo once more, and they're able to get themselves a 1-for-1 trade.
And I gotta say, Hiku, those are some rough arrows at the start, but he is turning it around. 2 back-to-back hits on Rales, 2 back-to-back kills for Flaxish. It's a good look for the team overall. But when we heard Memento talk yesterday, Vedius, he said that wasn't Giants playing the last time we played Fnatic Academy. That was the B team. That was somebody else. We were not playing like ourselves, and after that series was Origin, we know we're going to play well tomorrow. And they are. They're going toe-to-toe with this squad that tore them apart, and now it's Kikis. It looks like he bit off a bit more than he could chew. Arrow goes in, does connect onto Kikis. He may just get taken down, but he's so tanky. Knight trying to chip, flash over the wall. Baron aggroed, does make it out in the end. Flash down for Kikis, however. TP down for Flaxish, and Niski on the way for backup.
But think about what this means. Kikis now losing his flash. One of the big engage tools for Fnatic is now unavailable to them. If he wants to re-engage or get involved in these fights one more, he's going to be forced to use his teleport. But for Giants, they can be happy with forcing that big top lane tank back. They've now reasserted their control back into the top half of their own jungle, and so much focus is being invested around the Baron area. Elder Dragon is also making his way up. It's amazing looks for an engage.
Memento, no energy left to leap to safety. He does get taken out. They're trying to turn. They're trying to burn with that equalize, but EQ, the man on the front lines, he does so much damage. Kikis says no, but Hustlin saves the day. Now Knight is backing off. They're looking for more. Niski on the side. He lands the chains. He may just look for the dash. Doesn't need it. It's Knight who gets burned down. Kikis going on.
Hiku looked like a machine at the start of that fight, but Fnatic played too well. The fact that they were coming in from so many different angles made it difficult for Giants to be able to focus on a target. They played the fight exactly how they needed to, just spreading Giants out, preventing them from just grouping up and pressing all of their buttons. And for the fact that Fnatic find this big teamfight win will give them an inhibitor.
Oh, and Hustlin drops. The inhib's going to fall. Fnatic have a wave behind them as well. What will they go for next? Looks like it will be the back off. But this is such a good fight for Fnatic, and we look at it one more time. It starts off well. We keep our eyes on Hiku. Things look good, but man, you got to look at the whole lineup.
So just look at the fact that Niski, he comes in from the flank, he then dashes back out again. So now Giants have to focus on the front line, and now Kikis is back there. You don't have Kalai coming in from another angle. Niski then rejoins the fight once again. And so every time Giants think they have a target that they want to focus, Fnatic swap and make you force another into a decision. That was not a sentence.
Baron goes down, Memento isolated away. Vedius now, I feel like Fnatic for the first time in this game has a sizable gold advantage.
Oh yes.
Approaching 8K difference. 7K. But Giants, as they pick up the farm, this is where things start to get a little grim. Things start to get a little scary. And Vedius, we look at the items coming out. I see a lot of tanks on the side of Fnatic. I don't see a whole heck of a lot of penetration on the side of Giants. I feel like they're just not able to deal damage to these tankier members.
It's also really difficult being able to get this damage down onto the really mobile targets of Niski and Rales. Notice that EQ, he was sitting on Rales' face for a really long time, but then the moment these tanks join the fray, then EQ's forced to go back. He has to deal with the tanks first, and it's taking them so long to be able to shred through Amazing and Kikis that Niski's having a field day, and this time, Rales doesn't need to flash. He's now got himself a QSS.
Still landing the arrows. Rales just has a 1,200 gold solution. Now Fnatic just comfortable to keep pushing in. Decent wave clear on the side of Giants, of course, but it's no Victor. They can't stall forever. May eventually have to give up this tier 2, and it looks like they are going to opt to do so on this wave. Fnatic not even going to wait for the wave, in fact, just going to move in to bully the tower, keep the minions alive, keep them healthy.
Now Fnatic, they could send Niski up to the top lane. There's already a big minion wave pushing in their favor. Having those Baron-empowered minions to speed things along would help, but they're feeling confident. They're going as a 5-man unit, and their eyes are on this tower.
Moving in, empowered creeps behind them. Engage options everywhere on this Fnatic lineup. Will they use them? Can Giants find a way to turn this around? They are just going to back off. Looks like they will just give up the second inhibitor. Or is this where they'll make their stand? 37 minutes in, one inhibitor already down in the mid lane. Odds starting to stack against this Giants lineup here in game 1. If the second inhibitor breaks, it'll be all but over. Will they look for the engage here? I think they may just give it up. It's getting poked down, it's getting chipped. Rawls has the free time. That second inhibitor for Fnatic. Now all they need to do is take a third and they can end this game.
Fnatic, they fought back well. Giants, they appeared to have so much control over the early game. They got to that mid-game point that they really wanted in a lot of these fights. They just couldn't quite get. They wanted to force so many things, and Fnatic never gave them that opportunity. And it was always Fnatic finding these small skirmishes, finding those picks, which resulted in their composition really being able to excel. And it demonstrates a good understanding of how to utilize the strengths of your comp.
And Vedius, I feel like it was so back and forth in the early game, but just that one fight that led to Inhibitor. That one fight that finally led to an uncontested Baron gave Fnatic the edge that they needed to pull ahead here. And as we already mentioned, there's no tanks on the side of Giants. There's no guy who can stand on the front line and protect the rest of your team. That guy is hustling beast on a Lulu right now. And while he has been a good frontliner, surviving the mass majority of damage dealt to him, it's not enough. And now things start to look grim. Elder Dragon, Baron buff.
Look at this, LeBlanc ultimate being used to zone EQ away just from even remotely clearing out that minion wave. Giants, slow but inevitable rather, close out is on the line for them. And while they have demonstrated a lot of good stuff here in game 1, it bodes well for them in the series. Now, they still have great team fighting. They still have the opportunity to win a big fight. So Fnatic, they just need to play things slow and calm.
Where's the equalizer at? Can Flax just find an opportunity? For now, Rawls is hitting the tower. He's uncontested. He's chipping it down. Giants are giving this one away. No one looking to pull the trigger. No confidence here on the side of Giants. This is not a good look for the team.
The Elder Dragon making it even harder for Giants to feel confident enough to try and force a fight. But with 3 super minion waves now knocking on the door of Giants' Nexus, Fnatic have nothing left standing in their way.
But Vedius, I feel like that was their last opportunity to fight because it doesn't get easier. Now you've got to have 6 super minions spawning across the entire map on each wave, taking it down. And now Brawl is left uncontested. Arrow connects onto him. EQSS is out. Fnatic more than happy to just keep hitting the towers. They say, Giants, you don't want to play PvP, that's fine with us. We'll play the PvE. Does get the double kick in. There goes the equalizer. Now they're trying to turn. Redemption moves forward. Kickus with the belly bomb. Not going to find anything. However, Stranglethorn goes out. Memento goes up. Memento goes down. Knight is going to follow. Rawles is on a tear, but Hiku trying to bring it back. Trying to fight like a man possessed, but the chain is connected, and that means he's going down. Fnatic moving forward. TP to keep the minion alive, just to close the game with style. Fnatic move in. Fnatic take out their targets. They're going to get one more kill on Flaxus. The TP, the final sign of surrender as Giants fall down here in game 1.
Fnatic at the very end of that game, they played well, they played clean, they knew exactly how to use the Baron. There were no rash decisions, players weren't getting caught out. And it was very, overall a good game from Fnatic. The early game, not quite the way in which they wanted. They had to deal with 3 pushing waves, which did make things very difficult for them.
I feel like early to mid game, we saw 2 even teams. We saw Giants outsmarting a little bit on 1 or 2 of those macro plays. We saw Fnatic outsmarting once or twice, and then just that single team fight in the mid lane, Vedius. That single team fight where they picked off a few members, they broke a mid inhib, and they took Baron. Instantly won them the game.
Yeah, it was just that one fight. That's all they needed, because it was super difficult for Fnatic Academy to really win that 5v5, especially when you're going up against Giants composition. So they had to find this pick, or at least they had to play a fight so well that they would be able to catch Giants completely off guard. And that's exactly what they did. It was very impressive to watch. However, I think it's worth mentioning how well Hiku played in that matchup. Like, sure, he missed a few early arrows, but some of the ones that he did hit were so impactful to keeping Giants alive. And also those late game fights, he was flashing in, he was diving
when we talked
onto the
about
back
Giants,
line.
I mean, Hiku was one of the guys to watch, right? It was Knight. Can Knight finally step up to that former performance? Memento, this guy's been a consistent performance. And Hiku, is he our rookie to watch on Giants? Is he this new guy who came in? He had some great Ziggs games, and now it looks like he's having a pretty solid Ashe game as well. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough, Vedius.
No, it was not. And they still have plenty of other opportunities left to fight. This is a best of 5. But in terms of game 1, Fnatic, they're now feeling a lot more confidence. The jitters have been washed off, and I'm expecting more engagement during the early game from both teams.
Yeah, see how they work this out, see what the next option will be. Well, for now, Fnatic Academy have come out swinging with a win in game 1. For more, let's send it over to the analyst desk to break down that first match.
Thank you very much, Drakos. Indeed, it might be jitters because we didn't see a lot of engager action from the teams in the early to mid game, but in the end, Fnatic Academy closed it out. And you guys had a lot to say about a lot of the match, and we want to start by picks and bans. First up, Coscu, you talked a lot about the mid lane priority and where it would go. It ended up being LeBlanc and Giants with the then counter, or their counter, which is Corki, and it isn't a pick we see that often anymore. Is it specifically in that matchup that we see it coming out?
I think that people, because LeBlanc's really strong, obviously, and they don't know exactly what to pick into her because no one knows what can actually handle her. And I see that a lot of people pick Corki into it, but like I saw, Corki didn't have a lot of damage because of they went off a defensive build and they had 2 tanks, and the tanks just didn't get any damage, and LeBlanc went top lane again. Like she pushed out the wave and she went top and they got the top tower, and from that on, it started rolling. So
foreshadowing, it happened.
And I think we were looking at a lot of other areas of the draft and how Fnatic seemed to give a lot over to Giants in the draft. When you look, the LeBlanc goes over. They take the LeBlanc early, but then Giants end up with a conversation that Unlimited we were talking about that theoretically is quite strong, but had its reservations with Ashe being the only engage. Is there anything you would have liked to have seen differently?
I think this match resembles their previous matches. Last time they faced each other, every time they went to the game, like everyone in the team was like watching the game and they're like, oh yeah, Giants will win this really easy. Like their draft is so good, like they have the best champions. And then every time they lose. So I think from draft perspective, if you have the better players, it doesn't matter what you draft because you will win anyway. That's what happened to me. I got outdrafted a couple of games, but my players win anyway, so it just doesn't matter.
So TLDR, Fnatic Academy is the better team, is what I'm hearing from what you're saying here, because they didn't have a favorable draft.
They are the better team right now, at least.
Yeah. Well, definitely going off of this game one, and let's take a look at that first blood. What you were mentioning, LeBlanc does get the chance to roam, and immediately Fnatic capitalizes on that and solidify the first blood.
Yeah. Here she just pushes mid after the blue buff. He was taking blue and she pushes mid, she goes top. They kill Rumble and they get the first blood tower. What was really interesting to me here is that the Zyra Ezreal was losing bot tower meanwhile, 2v2, and I don't think that should be happening in this matchup. So
it can be a difficult one to kind of look at that. Momentum was a little behind the play at the same time. This was further on where Niski had that brilliant dodge in mid lane and then goes right back into the lane. But
that was puzzling to me because they get the advantage, they get the tower, and then all of a sudden Niski just goes back to the mid lane just to get killed, to lose mid lane priority.
Yeah, that was a strange one. I don't think that's like the right choice at that point. But there was a couple of moments where both teams did this in mid lane where nobody was there to defend a push. And then Niski ended up dying, they lose their tower. It happens on the opposite side, Fnatic take the Giants tower. That was one of the things that kind of made this early game so back and forth and so even, was each team were making mistakes around towers and just letting them go down. And it meant we ended up in that weird stalemate for a little portion of the game where Giants had to try and get an Ashe arrow out of the Baron pit that didn't quite land.
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a look at that Baron, or take a look at the pick that Fnatic got around the red buff. They get one pick off and then they decide to go to Baron as the coach Unlimited. Obviously, this is good that they get the pick off, but can you analyze the rest of the play from the both two teams?
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Rumble had to push bot, so they decided to go for a pick. It's pretty good play. And Kikis was flanking, so they didn't have escape. And after that, of course, they have to go for Baron after killing one person.
Yeah, and they still get hit by the Ashe arrow after the setup.
Well, it turns like against them because they play versus Rumble and Ashe, and it's pretty hard to control Baron versus them. Ashe has the vision and the arrow, and Rumble has his ultimate that just traps everyone in the pit, and it's really hard to play versus.
Koski, you were saying, well, if this happened in our team, the Rumble would have just flashed in and killed everybody on the spot.
Yeah, I think when Ashe hit the arrow and Rumble hit the ult, and yeah, they were like dropping down very lowly, and he flashed really late with the flamethrower. I think if he flashed instantly, he would have got 2 kills instant, and I think they would have won that fight.
Yeah, they could have won the fight, but Giants gave it away at that because Fnatic right after pushed for a fight, or a bit after pushed for a fight, and then got the inhib and looked like the stronger team coming out. An interesting thing you mentioned, Unlimited, was also, you see Kikis on the tank now, and it's not the kind of champion that you'd like to see him play on. And
I think that Kikis is really good on tank, but to abuse the skill difference between the top laners, I think he needs to be on a carry. But since they won anyway, like Kikis Drakos is really good. He showed it yesterday versus us and was really hard to play versus. But I would like to see him on a carry in the next games.
We'll see. As said, both two teams, this is their first game in this best of 5. It seems that maybe they want to take the safe route in terms of engages and champion picks, but we will see what happens in the next game with the series at 1-0. We'll see if the Giants can strike back in game 2 right after this.
Do your jobs. We'll talk after the game. Let's start this day with a win.
3 seconds, get him. Nice, get out. Nice, get him.
What can he do? Explosive cast goes in. He gets polymorph kicked back. EQ happy to dish out some damage here, and he's going to grab the kill in the end. His Giants are the one suddenly ahead in the tempo. Oh, still alive. Flaxus takes him down, looking for a little bit more to climb. Running for his life, but Flaxus, he gets the auto. That's the double. Now they get one back.
Look from me. Nice name. Please smash. That's big. We can win this. We win this. Nice flash all up. Ash.
Oh, Kekis says no, but Hustling saves the day. Now Knight is backing off. They're looking for more. Niski on the side. He lands the chains. He may just look for the dash. Doesn't need it. It's Knight who gets burned down.
Ash. I'm dead. Ash. We go. Nice, guys.
But Giants fall down here in game 1.